What wouldn't we do for a loved one? I would imagine that we would do any number of things for a loved one, starting with the easiest to the most difficult. I'm sure for a loved one, we would listen to them. For a loved one, we would answer when they needed or called upon us. For a loved one, we would feed them, probably whether or not they were hungry. We would remain with them. We would stand by them in their trials, in the most darkest moments of their life. I'm sure for a loved one, we would protect them when and if they ever felt threatened. And certainly we would seek them out and help them back if they ever lost their way. And while it's easy enough to say, I am sure it is true that we would willingly die for a loved one if it meant that they might live. We would do all these things and more, probably, for our loved ones, because that is what love does. Love is beyond words. It actually moves us beyond words. It moves us beyond the phrase of I love you and into action. And today this morning remembers, that first Christmas, when God perfectly moved beyond word, beyond the words of all the old covenants, beyond the words of all that is written in the Old Testament scriptures. Today remembers that day that God perfectly moved beyond words, his love, beyond words, into something or someone real. Today remembers how God's love became visible for all to experience. And in short, that's why we're here. God's love is real. It is not empty. It's not empty words. It's not empty phrases. It's not just some idea. It's not some ideal that the world proposes. God's love is real. And it's moved beyond word to the flesh. God's love listens to us. His love listens to our pain, to our frustration, to our joys, to our complaints. His love answers our need. And not just with what we want and what we ask for. God's love answers our need with what we really need, even if it's not what we asked for, even if it's not what we want. God's love remains. It abides. It stands by us in our darkest hours. His love feeds us with the Eucharist. More than words, he feeds us with his very self, his body, his blood, his soul, his divinity, to cast aside any doubt of just how close God desires to be with us. So close that we literally consume him. And he enters into our physical being. God feeds us with much more than just words. God's love forgives us unconditionally. God's love conquers. More than that, it redeems all the evil that we encounter. And it redeems all the evil that we cause. God's love travels that unthinkable distance between heaven and earth to seek out the lost, us. And he will stop at nothing to get us back onto the right path. And above all, his love would and will die a cruel death, even if it means that just one of us might really live. That is the love we remember today. A love that's more than words. A love that took flesh, a love that was born into our world, born into our lives, and was given a name. As St. Paul says, the name above every other name. The name of Jesus Christ. And it is his love that we celebrate today. A love that continues 2,000 years after its birth. And that is something worthy of celebration. More than any present we unwrap this morning, more than any family member that we might reunite with, more than any party that we might attend, that love is the most worthy of celebration this morning. And so we're called again, as we are every year, to celebrate that love, the love of Christ, the love that took flesh, the love that is real, most real. And to celebrate that love by imitating it. That is how we as Catholics are called to celebrate Christmas, by imitating the love of God. And not simply by imitating that love to each other. We know that, we hear that all the time. But imitating that love to God himself. Loving him the same way he has loved us. Celebrate God's love this Christmas by loving him the same way he has loved you and I. Celebrate God's love and love him this Christmas by listening to him in prayer. Celebrate God's love and love him by answering him when he calls on us. Celebrate his love and love him by enduring our crosses, by embracing our crosses, the cross that he carried to redeem us. Embrace our suffering and our crosses. Show him love that way. Celebrate his love and love him by coming to Mass week in and week out without exception, where he feeds us with more than just words, but he feeds us with his very body and his blood, his soul and divinity with the Eucharist. Love him by coming to Mass. Celebrate his love and love him by seeking the forgiveness that he so willingly offers, so freely offers through the sacrament of confession. Celebrate and love him by trying our hardest, fighting our hardest, to resist temptation, to avoid evil, and to do the good that he calls us to. Celebrate his love and love him by trusting him and his church, his Catholic Church, when we have lost our way. And above all, celebrate his love and love him by never forgetting, by never ever forgetting that the child that is born this day was born to die. The child born today was born to die. Never forget that. And he was born to die so that you and I might live this Christmas day. This Christmas day and every day. In love and celebration of that love. Celebrate a love that is more than words this Christmas season. Celebrate a love that has taken flesh. Celebrate a love that has been given the name above every other name. And celebrate that love by loving him who loved us first.